In Marina's life, circumstances led to the birth of her first child without the bond of marriage. Love didn't flourish in Marina's life, devoid of the romantic spectacle of a wedding adorned with a white veil. Upon their discharge from the hospital, Marina and her son were left to navigate life without the presence of his father, who vanished without laying eyes on his own child. Initially, the challenges weighed heavily on Marina, both physically and mentally. She resorted to various living arrangements, a dorm room, a communal apartment, and staying with relatives in a cramped space tucked behind a curtain. Finances were strained, forcing her to scrape by with odd jobs, meticulously budgeting every penny. However, as Dennis grew older, Marina secured a stable job, easing the burden of her circumstances. When Dennis turned 3, Vincent stepped in to care for him. Marina readily accepted this support. She entered into what appeared to be a successful marriage, as her husband owned a spacious house in the village, inherited from his parents, where he resided alone. Embracing her role, Marina became the mistress of this household. Vincent treated Dennis kindly, harboring no discomfort about the boy's presence in their home. Everything changed when Marina gave birth to another son, whom she shared with Vincent. The father doted on the boy. It was his first and rather late child. It was then that Vincent seemed to be replaced. He gave all of his love and care to his own son, little Tima, and began to treat Dennis not just coldly, but with contempt. For any prank or misdemeanor, he scolded him, and sometimes even punished him. He began to throw up his hands and forbade Marina to interfere in the process of education. Dennis has often been beaten with a belt lately, and Marina looked at all this and realized that it was impossible to object. A couple of times, she tried to protect her son by covering him with herself, but received a powerful rebuff. Vincent threatened her with violence, and she knew that her husband would keep his word. Lately, he had shown her his true face, a cruel and vicious man. With great difficulty, Marina decided to file for divorce. When she announced this to her husband, he beat her and threatened to kick her out of the house along with her little geek and keep the topic to himself. In any case, if she tries to leave, she will never see this trauma again. Marina had to put up with it. She thought and turned over in her head different options for how to confront her husband, but so far she couldn't think of anything. Meanwhile, it seemed to Vincent that the main obstacle to his family happiness was a small 5-year-old boy. If it weren't for him, how happily the three of them would have lived in a big house. Misha annoyed him more and more, and he decided to get rid of the boy at all costs. If only Marina knew what her husband was up to. He couldn't kill the boy, so he decided to take Misha to the forest and leave him there. The boy will not be able to find his way back. Take him further, beyond the old swamp, so that he definitely does not find his way. And then hunger and forest animals will do their job. We can only wait for an opportunity. And such an opportunity presented itself. Marina took the trauma to the doctor for examination, which means she won't be here until tonight. Vincent knew this because the bus to their village went only twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. He had almost a whole day to carry out his plan. Knowing his stepson's love for nature and all living things, he invited the boy to the forest to feed the squirrels. Dennis's eyes lit up, and of course, he agreed. We got dressed, took some provisions with us, and Vincent took the child into the forest through the garden so that none of the locals would notice. Their house stood on the very edge of the village, and it was not far to the forest. Locals rarely went to these swampy places, and that's what Vincent was counting on. They walked for a long time through the swamp and came to a place overgrown with moss. After checking the moss for strength, Vincent realized that it was in this place that you can walk through the swamp. After walking quite a long distance, they found themselves on dense ground. There was a dense forest ahead, into which they headed. "Stop," the man announced, and the boy sank wearily to the ground. Dennis couldn't figure out where all the squirrels had gone and why they had been walking through the swamp for so long. After the bear ate and drank hot tea from a thermos, he fell asleep right on the soft grass. After taking one last look at the sleeping child, the stepfather set off on his way back. At home, he met his wife and told her that a terrible thing had happened. While he was busy with business, the boy disappeared, and he can't find him anywhere. All the villagers were brought to their feet. They searched everywhere, but no one could have imagined that a 5-year-old boy had gone into the forest. At the same time, Vincent took an active part in the search for his stepson. A little boy woke up alone in a dense forest. At first, he did not understand anything. It seemed to him that his stepfather was somewhere nearby. He began to call out to him, but he did not respond. Then he screamed and cried for a long time, but it was still quiet in the forest. Dennis became very scared, and he hid even deeper under the tree under which he had slept before. Night was approaching. Curled up, the boy finally fell asleep. In his dream, it seemed to him that his mother covered him with a warm wool blanket and gently kissed him on the cheek. In the morning, when Dennis opened his eyes, he saw a large gray dog next to him. That's who kept him warm all night. The 5-year-old kid did not understand that this was not a dog, but a gray forest predator. It was an old she-wolf. She lived alone for a long time, apart from the pack, and did not bear offspring. But she remembered well how little children smell of milk, just like this human cub. The boy hugged the wolf by the neck and said, "Doggy, take me home. You definitely know the way to my mom." He carefully pressed his whole body against her, and she slowly led him towards the village. Marina sat at the window for the second day and stared at one point. She was black with grief and uncertainty. Dennis has not been found yet. Now law enforcement agencies were engaged in this. Suddenly, she saw a huge gray dog appear from behind the garden and a boy next to her. Marina jumped out into the yard and ran towards the she-wolf. Vincent, who did not understand anything, rushed after his wife. The she-wolf halted a few meters away from Marina. Dennis cried out with joy and ran into the woman's embrace. Simultaneously, the wolf and Vincent locked eyes. Understanding passed between them. Suddenly, the wolf lunged at Vincent's arm. He cried out in agony, but the she-wolf refrained from delivering a fatal blow. If she had intended harm, her jaws would have closed around his throat. The commotion drew neighbors to the scene. In front of everyone, Vincent admitted to his wrongdoing and faced severe legal consequences. Following the incident, the elderly she-wolf frequented the village. Marina and her sons welcomed her, offering sustenance and shelter in gratitude for her role in saving the boy. I hope you like this video. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.